Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayaswami Padma, and I am bringing you today's 12 o'clock Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, explained by Paramahansa Yogananda and edited by Swami Kriyananda. Edited meaning that though Swami Kriyananda was present when Yogananda was dictating these quatrains at his desert retreat with the intention of editing them and basically writing them out for him, Kriyananda in some cases adds what he calls an expanded meaning at the end, that it's very clear that it's his voice speaking as opposed to Yogananda's, who paraphrases this incredibly beautiful poem. So today we're on quatrain 10, and I want to play it for you. Let me see if I can wake this thing up. There we go. I want to play Swami Kriyananda singing the quatrain.
Stanza 9.
Whoops. Hang on, folks. Let's see if that works. Stanza 10, okay.
Stanza 10.
There we go.
With me along some strip of herbage strown that just divides the desert from the soul, where name of slave and sultan scarce is known, and pity Sultan Mahmud on his throne. Paraphrase. Roam with me along that narrow strip of consciousness where infinity resides, between past and present, between consciously perceived and subconsciously retained knowledge, between all dualities, good and evil, joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain. Demarking and at the same time uniting them lies a dividing line of dimensionless awareness. This strip, once entered, opens onto vast realms of superconsciousness. Here, in ecstasy, soul freedom is attained. From the perspective of this exalted state, the most powerful and universally envied human being is pitiable, living as he does in a state of spiritual poverty.
This is, as this entire poem of the Rubaiyat scripture, as Yogananda called it. Hang on, let me just turn this off 1 second so it stops burping at us. This quatrain is very, very deep. It gives us not only insight, but also some techniques that we can do to actually experience the state he's talking about, which is the state of superconsciousness, that fine line that lives between our subconscious state and our conscious state. And if we can penetrate that line, Paramahansa Yogananda had a very simple technique as an example of this, that when we're at the ocean and we see the far horizon, not just to concentrate on the waves, which is wonderful, and the sound of the waves, but to concentrate also, and we can do this especially when the sun is first setting and reaching that sort of level of the ocean itself, or in the dawn when the sun is rising and just coming over that fine line that we see, that we perceive at the end of the ocean, that it's like a line. That represents, I should say, the line between the subconscious and the conscious mind. And if we focus there, we find ourselves, I know I've experimented with this, we find ourselves entering that state of superconsciousness. And the state of superconsciousness is a solution oriented state. It is constantly finding insight and solutions in our lives, in our conscious lives, and in our subconscious lives for that matter. I was just sharing with my husband Riemann this morning that as I was falling asleep last night, and that's another time, if we can catch ourselves just as we're falling asleep, but before we go so deep that we're no longer aware, while we're still have some awareness, or conversely on the other end, when we're first waking up and before we jump out of bed, but as we haven't even opened our eyes yet, we're just coming into that wakeful state. Those are the moments that we can touch the hem of that superconscious state. And last night, as I was falling asleep, and just before I did, I was aware that I had this thought. I don't know where it came from or why. Well, I do know why. I remember seeing a headline sometime in the last few days that the new First Lady, Jill Biden, was being tasked with going to the border to help reunite families, parents with children who had been separated from one another when they were seeking asylum in the US. And for some reason, that thought, I didn't even read the article, I just saw the headline, but that thought stuck in my mind. And as I was falling asleep last night, that thought came to me, and I suddenly had this instant thought that said, you know, they could use the dormitories of universities, because they're not being used right now, that are near the, in the border cities, and house the families in those dormitories. And then I thought, that actually led to a conscious thought, which was, how does one send an idea to the First Lady or the President? How do you even, begin a communication like that? But I just had this sort of thrilling feeling inside. And I know that it wasn't mind born, this thought. It came while I was experiencing that state that is described in this quatrain, that state that resides between the conscious and the subconscious mind, where we can slip into superconscious seconds or moments or minutes or longer. The more we meditate, the more we learn to sustain peaceful moments like that and be able to experience and dive into that superconscious state. So I leave you with those thoughts. Read the quatrain, read the expanded meaning because it goes on for a few pages. It is full of teaching and techniques, ways that we can experience these things for ourselves. Joy to you, and we'll see you again tomorrow for Yogananda's The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, explained by him. Bye bye